And hello, everybody, and welcome to the interview room. We are grateful that you are here. And as you can tell, I have my sweetheart. She just jumped on real fast. She wanted to get in here. We're going to be covering the updated press conference coming up. And so we thank you for each and every one of you being here and for our mods being here this morning. Honey, what do you think we'll be expecting here today? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, first, I want to say hi to everybody. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank our subscribers. I want to thank our mods too. This has been a week of last minute chasing the news stories and lives that we've been doing. So thank you so much to our mods. Yeah, so Chris, with this press conference today, this news conference that we're waiting for any minute, it was supposed to start, I believe, at 10:30 Mountain Time. I haven't checked in on the feed. I know that obviously it's delayed. I don't know if we know exactly when it's supposed to happen, but it will be good to get some updated information. Of course, this is the biggest news story in the country right now. There is conflicting information. There's, in parts, a lack of information. We've heard different things, and the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, is set to give another press conference. I've got a lot to say. We'll get to some of that. For those of you who don't know, I spent my career as a journalist, a print reporter, mostly, and then I was a public information officer. So at one point in my career, my job was to talk to the media, hold press conferences, give them daily updates on crimes, high crimes, misdemeanors, and everything in between, murder, all kinds of breaking news that we always covered at the police department where I worked. My job was to talk to the media, give them what they needed, and also advise the police chief in the city where I worked on what to say, how to say it, what not to say. And, the number one golden rule, never lie. There's always something that you can say without giving away details of a case. And if you can't say, then you explain very plainly why you can't say it. So, I have a lot to say about Sheriff Nanos and what we've been seeing over this week. I'm going to hold off on my comments until after this morning's press conference. I think, in my opinion, Chris, part of why this is such an odd case in so many ways in terms of gathering the information in the media is that, the first press conference we saw a sheriff that he was emotional. He was all over the map. He was not concise. I felt like he's probably, I don't know this for sure, but sort of pushed aside his public information officer so he could get the spotlight here and take control of the story. And, we saw him, he was like potentially not oversharing, but a lot of stuff. And then the next day on Tuesday, which would be day 2 on this for us covering it, he was closed-lipped. There was many things he wasn't going to talk about. So, the authorities set the tone on the release of the information. And I feel like we've bounced around to every possible thing, a lot of information, not enough information. And then they're not confirming information that we have that's out there, not that we have, but it's out there about possible suspect and more information about, different things. Was there blood found in the home? Clearly, we see the blood outside the home on Nancy's doorstep. And I just feel like there's, it's all over the place. And, we need some more answers here. Chris, what's your thoughts?
I think, first of all, I love you, and you look great this morning. I just got back. She went to go talk to some folks, and so I've been scrambling, trying to put everything together. And as you guys all know, she's the brains of the operation, and you can see why. And so I think you just laid it out perfectly. Gary and I, as you know, hon, we had that program last night. And of course, we haven't left the house yet, but we are in a situation that I think today there's going to be a clarity from the sheriff. To your point, I think it's really interesting. If Kash Patel flew out there, did he go out there because the president told him to, or is it there's actually some information coming out of out of the investigation? So we're going to have to wait to see that. And while you're talking, I'm going to go ahead and try to find a really good live stream so that when it kicks off, I'll be able to tie right into it, if that's okay with you.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Feedback, is it coming out of your speakers on your computer?
It is, yeah. Is that echoey? Do we need to change that?
Change that on your setting? Just put it through your earpods.
Yes, I can do that. Hang on for just a second. Sorry, guys. We're getting stuff dialed in here. A little bit better.
Yeah, you sound that even.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Well, wait, it's still coming out of your computer. I can still hear the feedback.
Okay. Well, I may have to get off and then come back in.
Just go to the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And at the bottom.
Yeah, keep going.
It should give you the option.
Yeah, it's coming through on AirPods for both.
Okay, but it's also, I think, well.
People are saying it's not echoey.
Okay. Sounds good. You sound great.
Okay.
All right. Let me go look for a really good station, and I will be right back. Hang on.
Okay. Well, so the obvious thing that we need to talk about here, of course, is the video that Savannah Guthrie and her brother and sister released last night. And, if you're in chat, definitely want to know what you guys thought about that. I mean, obviously, oh my goodness, so heartbreaking, unbelievable. You can just see it on their faces, on Savannah's faces. This is just torture for them. Of course, it's also interesting watching the sibling dynamics there. Her brother, I'm told, was a fighter pilot, served in the military, and he seems like a stoic guy. Observation only, not a criticism. Obviously, her and her sister, came off differently. The sister seemed just less emotional. I don't know if she really was. Obviously, Savannah was in the middle reading the statement. And sisters are very different. And those two are very, very, very different. So again, I don't know what we can take from the family dynamic just watching that. But my goodness, the statement, they were talking to the captor or captors, whoever has their mother. I think we can safely say that authorities, the FBI, probably coach them. Chris, I'm sure you think that as well, on what to say, how to say this. And I mean, there's just more questions than answers on this thing. It is, it's unbelievable, you know. And of course, what's already been reported, we have no confirmation of. It's been reported that Nancy's son-in-law, which is Annie, her daughter Annie's husband, allegedly is a possible suspect or suspect in this. And the authorities are not confirming that at all. They're saying they don't have any suspects. That piece is not unusual. They can be doing all kinds of things going on. There's all kinds of things going on in the background that obviously we're not privy to. We don't want to know. They have a major investigation going on. So, you know, we don't know, but again, I think this case is just so rife with conflicting information. These press conferences that the Pima County Sheriff is giving don't seem to be clearing things up. And of course, we're all going to be the last to know. You know, Linda says, do we think this will end soon? My goodness, we all hope it does. I mean, it's excruciatingly painful for the poor family going through this. You know, I mean, their 84-year-old mother, this has now been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 days that she hasn't been on her medication. We don't know what the search has yielded for her whereabouts. There's just so much information that we don't know. We have bits and pieces. Authorities came back to the house late yesterday, went back in, put up the crime scene tape, came out with evidence or something, some items that they put in their car and drove away. And, you know, that was surprising that they went back to the crime scene, but experts said they were very, it was surprising that they would have wrapped up in just like one day, you know. And I mean, Brian Netton's been doing some great reporting on this. I know when he got to the scene, he could walk right up to the front door of the house, and that was shocking. I mean, typically, even after the crime scene's been processed, you usually see law enforcement, maybe a police car, some police presence, maybe private security outside, like guarding the scene to make sure just random people can't just walk up, and just in case police need to go back in and do further investigation. So there's been so many things with this case all week that are just have people confounded at this point. And again, we're waiting for the press conference to start. Maybe we could take some questions while we're waiting. Chris is looking for the feed. So just came in. Okay. So Wendy, we and everybody else, we are waiting for the press conference to start. We are hoping that we get some more information other than a potentially typical, well, the investigation's still going on. We're still pursuing leads. We still want people to call in and give us leads and tips. And perhaps they don't have anything new to report. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. Of course, we don't know yet. We're waiting. And we will wait and see. We can talk a little bit about the sheriff. He has gotten a ton of help from the FBI, all these other federal agencies. We saw people out there at the scene again. So I'm just, hang on, let me see if, Chris, are you back on? Or are you still doing technical things trying to figure this out?
I'm here.
Okay.
I was just trying to get Buddy corralled I heard him barking in the background. The fugitive.
Sorry, I know, Buddy. You guys may hear Buddy barking. As I always say, when Chris and I are on live or recording a video, Buddy, how smart is this dog? It's like, party time. This dog is getting away with all kinds of stuff when he knows mom and dad are tied up and busy.
And it makes me feel good that all of these professional news folks like you and back in the day, they're all still trying to figure out their audio here. You see this? They're having technical
Yeah.
issues, they're plugging stuff. So I don't feel that bad when I forgot to press a button last night for the first 3 minutes of our broadcast, and everybody was in the chat going, "Whoa, whoa, I can't hear you." I want to. I let's expound a little bit.
Yeah.
To 865 picker this question here. Can you expound on crimes against children van that you mentioned last night? Okay, the van itself was not ICAC. The van was from the evidence response teams. However, maybe the device, when they were coming out of the house, they were carrying this device that was covered up. That could have been what they call a Celebrite UFED. And what that means is what a UFED is, it's a box, basically. And if you go, there's two times that those kind of devices would be brought out. One is if you're on the scene of a particular circumstance and you want to get into the devices right then and there, like a big server or something to that effect. Just think of when you go to like Verizon or AT&T or any of the major, companies that, cell service, and you want to change your phone number. And you say that, I want to keep my number and I want to keep all the information on my device. And they say, yeah, no problem. And they take it into the back room and then they come out and hand you your device and everything is there on your brand new phone. Well, that is done from what they call a UFED. And it's that's the commercial device that Celebrite sells to all of the cell phone carriers so that you can cross your phone numbers, you can cross all your data, your photos and everything, and they hand you back your brand new phone and you go, yay, I got all my new stuff, okay, and I got a new phone. Well, there is a law enforcement piece of this, and by the way, the company used, it's an Israeli company, and they have a tremendous amount of, technical capabilities. And so this device also for law enforcement, you have two types. You have the kind that you can put into a room and it's stationary. And this is how they broke the phone back in the day. Remember the shooting in San Bernardino where they could not get into the phone. The FBI couldn't get into the phone and all this other stuff. Well, they sent it to Celebrite, and they're out of Virginia. And Celebrite took this phone, plugged it in to a device, and over time, that device discovered what the password was, and boom, they were into that telephone. In this situation, I thought it was really interesting that ICAC had come out to the scene. Now, who ICAC is, as I entered it last night, it's Internet Crimes Against Children. These guys and gals do not respond for missing adults. Okay. And so my belief potentially is maybe there's something else going on. Maybe it could be just a secondary situation, a secondary investigation somewhere. Okay. And maybe that's where, some of these other things are starting up and that's what I'm hoping to hear today from, the sheriff here, is that, they're going to give us some understanding of that. I want to make sure the sound is working.
Kidnapping.
You guys all hear that?
And publicly, from what we're hearing from the sheriff, he says, we're not
Okay.
ruling anything out. I have to imagine there's a lot more information that they.
Okay, so everybody, we know it's working, and just remind me to click the button. But anyway, with the ICAC team, the Internet Crimes Against Children, that's what they do. That's their job. And so the UFED would be brought in to download any type of information on site out of those servers instantaneously, and they can look at those files and those datas and that data right there, real time. Okay. And so maybe that's what they were doing yesterday. But I hope that answers your question. So they're not there. The ICAC folks, I don't believe, are there because of the kidnapping. I think, or unless there's some kind of connection somewhere, in relationship to that, and they want to get that data like yesterday. Okay. And that's where they would have brought these guys. Thoughts on?
Chris, we had somebody in chat, I think Cody in Tennessee, was asking, is this FBI jurisdiction yet? And I think that's a great question, because there is some confusion of how much involvement does the FBI have in this case today, right now. We don't really, we know that they're assisting. This is still Pima County Sheriff's Office is the lead agency on this. Can you speak a little to that a little bit more? We can go over what the FBI has been doing, your opinion on whether or not they coached the family, Savannah and her siblings, on their video and what to say, appealing to potential captor or captors out there. How much is the FBI involved in this case to date? Do we know?
Well, the note that was read last night, you could tell there are elements that were checked off in that note to build empathy with a potential kidnapper. Also, there were elements of the start of, what we would in a hostage negotiation situation. One of the first pieces there is the fact that, they were asking for proof of life, right? And I said that 3 days ago. If it was a situation that involves, a kidnapping, then that's going to be the very first dot that they're going to, put over the I. Okay. And lo and behold, now that they read the letter, there was some, I think there's a mixture of the BAU writing some of that letter, the behavioral analysis unit. And then also the family added their own emotional dynamic to it, which, typically you would allow that to happen to try to build an empathy towards, potentially the suspect. The FBI got involved or gets involved, not necessarily in all kidnappings, because as you know, Leticia Hernandez, that was one of the biggest, child kidnappings in the country back in 1989, which I was involved in. And the FBI played a secondary role, but our agency maintained control and maintained the investigative, points on this thing. What the FBI can bring to the table rather rapidly is a tremendous amount of resources and, the weight of the full government in terms of, items, things, people, et cetera. Now, the only dynamic that would change that is if this was a cross-border scenario. If they have evidence and or believe that potentially Mrs. Guthrie is being held across the border, then automatically the FBI will take point and lead the investigation from that point forward. And it would be the sheriff's responsibility at that point to, step back and take a secondary role. And the feds would then, run primary. Because now you've moved interstate, you've left Arizona, and now you're in international territory. and automatically the FBI would take place or would take over. But the fact that they had the SAC, the special agent in charge, there yesterday or the day before yesterday at the press conference, and he said, well, we're looking for, video type of that things. That told me they're in a secondary role of support. But that dynamic could change today if there's other information that they've discovered, like I said, that potentially, if it involves an international conversation. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah,
I think
that's
this is really, really interesting. Why impound the family car?
yeah. A lot of people want to know that.
Well, the most obvious is if she was last seen by the family and dropped off, and that was the vehicle used, then they're going to process that car for evidence. If it's connected to the UFED and the ICAC problem, okay, there could be a connection to that particular problem as well. So I really believe that potentially, I'm not positive yet personally that both of these crimes are cross germinating. I hear Buddy in the background still. Boy, he's being
I'll tell you what, he's being so naughty because we are both distracted.
Tell the audience, we have a little Jack Russell. He's hysterical. Those of you who are maybe not familiar with our channel, those of you who have been here for quite some time, yeah, he's being a stinker. I can hear him.
He is.
So this is interesting. I don't have the answer to that just yet. Okay. But I'm hoping we're going to get that. Something is really off. Exactly. I feel that too, Jojo. I really do. And thank you for your kindness very much. Isn't a suspect the last to see is first to check, then call 911? Did they not see blood? That is a great question. And hopefully, again, all avenues are potentially open here. Okay. It sounds like the PIO is stepping up here.
And then be able to get there, disabling the cameras along the way. So there are, again, some very logistical challenges to successfully being able to perpetrate this kidnapping.
Okay, so he's doing a camera check for focus. And at the conclusion of that, I suspect we're going to see all the hoo-has walk out. And so did they not see the blood? That is a great question again, to answer that, Sarah, for you. So when all the hoo-has walk out, then we'll go full screen here. And I think if Kash Patel is there, then there's going to, there's more behind the scenes that they're going to have to tell the public. I mean, Karen, if you're the PIO right now, what are you telling the sheriff?
Well, I don't know if the sheriff has been listening to his PIO all week. That's obvious. I don't know if this sheriff has had media training in his past career prior to this, but some of these guys go rogue. I mean, that there's professional PR people around them, and sometimes they just don't listen. That's what I had with my police chief. He sometimes he listened, other times he didn't. But a good public information officer is going to remind whoever is speaking, stick to the facts, give information enough for the media to do their job. Obviously, don't give stuff away that would potentially harm the case. There's an idea to get in and get out. State the facts, state what you can release on today, day 5. Take some questions, and then get out and get back to work. So that's what should be happening.
Yeah, and
we'll see if that happens or not.
I think there was a hang up with the company. They were trying to get hold of the actual CEO of the company, and so if this information went to the cloud, they can get it instantaneously. If it went to a server, then they have a couple more challenges that they would have to pull up and get that information. I can tell you though there are ways of retrieving it. And as we said, as I mentioned the other night, the second thing they're going to do right away is they're going to look for, that type of digital evidence coming and going around that house within the time frame of her when she got dropped off, and then the potential, scenario of the abduction. And they're going to be able to always remember that they put Alex Cox at the fire pit in the Daybell case, and Chad. Always remember that. Even though they may or may not have had a phone. At some point, there was some type of digital signature that came into that area. And that is a program that the FBI has, and they use it primarily for national security, high-profile situations like this. And here comes looks like the chief.
Trying not to cover anything, any of these microphones up. Good morning. I hope you've been kind of informed of the rules. That I'm going to try to get as many, if not all of you, an opportunity to ask a question. But last time we tried this, it was just kind of chaotic, people yelling. So I'd ask that you just kind of be patient with me, pay attention to the questions asked, because sometimes you guys want to ask the same question twice, and you're going to get the same answer. So help yourself, get what you can out of this. I'm going to give you one question and a follow-up, okay? But before we get there, I do have some comments. First of all, I want to begin by offering our condolences to our partners at the state Department of Public Safety's tragically lost 2 members last night in a helicopter crash up in northern Arizona. So if you keep them in your prayers, Colonel Glover and his team, I'm sure, would have greatly appreciate it. Along the same lines, I think you all saw last night, I'm trying to speak up, not yell, because apparently I talk soft.
I don't know what.
Understandably so. And so I really want you to know this entire team here, those behind me, and our community are hurting with you. We really just want Mom back, okay? Right now, we believe Nancy is still out there. We want her home. Our department, the Sheriff's Department, along with all of our partners at the FBI, have been working around the clock. And we just want her home and get and find a way to get to the bottom of all of this, just as you do. But I have other partners out there who have stepped up, and you've probably noticed them in the last few days, if not the last few hours, and you're going to see more of that. Well, I've made a decision to contact our PCRIT team, and those of you not local, that's our Pima Regional Critical Incident Team. It's made up of law enforcement officers from this entire valley. Pasquayaki Police Department, Tucson Police Department, Marana Police Department, Oro Valley Police Department, Pima College Police Department, this is Tucson International Police Department, Sarita Police Department. There's so many of them, and they are going to help us tremendously. And that's really done because we have so much in front of us still, and we're hoping that, I know the FBI has committed a very large number of men and women to partner with us, work side by side with us. We go do an interview, they're going to be there with us. We're going to go look at some evidence or process evidence, they're going to be right there with us. We're sharing every piece of information, all the data we can to get this thing solved. And it's important that my partners in law enforcement know and understand their roles, because it is very large, complex investigation with a lot of moving parts. And we're at that phase now where sometimes we're waiting, right? We're waiting for analysis. We're waiting for lab reports. But even then, when they come back quickly, for example, some DNA, We rushed what we thought was the best target for DNA. We did a rush through and got some of that back. The results were minimal. I think you all know the blood on the porch. That was one we did. It came back to Nancy. That's what we know. But there's still more items that have been submitted. We just haven't got them back yet. But in the meantime, we're not just sitting on our haunches waiting. We do have a number of leads coming in, and that's why we brought in the FBI for one, but PCRIT as well, to be able to get out there and handle these leads as they come in as quickly and as expeditiously as we can. And every single lead is looked at, every one of them. And so we're gearing up. You probably have some questions about what you've seen in the last couple of days. I'll gladly answer those at that time. But it really is about getting our partners out there. To be fair, when we went to that scene the first night, Saturday night, it was just us. Since then, the FBI and others have asked, can we go and see it as well? And that's what you've been seeing. But it is a very important case to not just me and my team, but this entire community, all of our law enforcement partners. Suspects. I know there's been a lot out there about suspects, and I want to be very clear. At this time, we have not identified a suspect or a person of interest in this case. We are working our best to do that. But to be clear, we have nobody of interest or any suspects that you would consider a prime suspect. We're just not there. We're not there yet. The timeline, I think we've got it on the board, do we not? This is a timeline that we have been able to develop with some of the things that we've had processed, various pieces of electronics that we've gathered. And you look at some of this, and I know you're going to say, well, why did it take you so long to get this to us, Sheriff? Well, because one thing, it's got to go out and be processed at different lab sites. And sometimes that stuff comes back to us. And like you, we have questions. And we say, wait a minute, what is this about? What about this? Could it be that? And so it's sent back or it's sent somewhere else. So, and that's happening with all of the things we see, that process, that review, and that questioning of, all right, what is it we're looking at? So I'll go over it with you. You can see it on the board there, but at about 5:32 p.m., these are approximate times. 5:32 p.m., Nancy travels to her local family's home for dinner and playing games with the family, and just visiting. At 9:48 p.m., which is very consistent to what we were told by the family, that Nancy was dropped off at home. And we know that because we have a garage door open at approximately, I can't stress that enough, at approximately 9:48 p.m. At 9:50 p.m., that garage door closes, which is that time we assume that Nancy's home and probably going to bed. Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself. It just kind of loops, right, and covers up. That's what our analysis teams have told us. We're not done with that. We'll do all we can, but that's what it says. So it detects a person on camera. Could that be an animal? I imagine that's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video, but we're not giving up on that. 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone. And at 11:56 a.m., the family checks on Nancy and discovers her missing. And at 12:03 p.m., 911 is called in to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I believe it's about approximately 10 minutes later, 12 minutes later, our patrol teams arrive. They see the scene, and we start our response with our search and rescue teams and our detectives from homicide and various units. In fact, every unit here, I think somebody questioned, how come there's an ICAC member out here or this member. Everybody in our criminal investigations team is a part of this team and part of this investigative effort. I think with that, let me make sure. Now, I want to clarify some things that I may have already done, but yeah, I've gone over with the blood at the front door, the doorbell camera. It was removed. We know that, but we're not confirming that any cameras were smashed or destroyed around the house. I don't know where that came from, but that's something we're not confirming. The car, the car that was at the home, it's just standard investigative practices. It's part of the search warrant scene, court orders. We pull it out of there and do our scene processing with the vehicle. Uber, we did speak to a driver because Nancy, we learned, had been taken the Uber to the family residence, the daughter, for dinner. And we located that driver and spoke with them and got that information. The house, you guys got this, I think, conducting follow-up. I think you said somebody had mentioned that they saw a team out there again last night or yesterday, and that's just, again, what I was talking about before. Our partners wanted a chance to see it and examine things themselves, and more importantly, it's just we're constantly following up on things and go, hey, what about this? So we want to go back and check on some things. Here's the other thing. Someone had mentioned there was forced entry. I have no clue where that comes from. We have been very consistent. We are not discussing that at all. Whether it's forced entry or not forced entry, that is something we're just not discussing. So I don't know where anybody got that information. I think I am about done with my piece of this. I'm going to bring up here Heath Yankee, and I think you know him if you haven't been here. John Edwards is the assistant agent in charge with the FBI here at the Tucson office. Heath Yankee is the special agent in charge for the state of Arizona out of Phoenix, and he will come up and speak.
Thank you, Sheriff. Hello, I'm Heath Yankee, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Phoenix division. First, I want to let the Guthrie family know that our hearts are heavy for them. After seeing your message last night, it is clear that you and your family are in pain. Please know that we are doing everything to bring your mother home. The FBI is now working this case jointly with the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and we're going to start today by announcing a $50,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie and/or the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance. And this will be the missing persons with the reward that will be going out. The FBI has agents, analysts, and professional staff employees working day and night with our partners at the Sheriff's Department. We have deployed additional intelligence and agents from our Phoenix office. We have brought in our critical incident response group from Quantico, Virginia. Members from our cellular analysis survey team are here, and they continue to collect and process digital information. We are actively reviewing and analyzing information from all digital sources, which includes banks, social media companies, phone companies, and any other organizations where a digital footprint could have been captured. All this information provides data points and helps put the picture together. And we will be in the community continuing to conduct a thorough investigation with our partners. You heard about us out there last night. We will be back out there today. I would ask the media, give our investigators the space to do their jobs while they're out there. Next, regarding the ransom letter. We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media and then to national outlets. As with every lead, we are taking it seriously. We are in communication with the family. And while we advise and recommend from a law enforcement perspective, any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family. Thank you to those in the community that have called in tips. For anyone out there that may have information, no matter how small you think it may be, please report it. You can do so by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at tips.fbi.gov. My next message is to those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation. We will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions. We have made one arrest related to an imposter ransom demand, and a complaint will be presented to a magistrate judge later today. You will get more on that from the FBI and our U.S. Attorney's Office here in Arizona when it becomes available. To anyone that may be involved, do the right thing. This is an 84-year-old grandma. This is an 84-year-old grandma that needs vital medication for her well-being. You still have the time to do the right thing before this becomes a worse, much worse scenario for you. Please return Nancy home. Thank you.
Do I have a list?
All right, so you want to call them or you want me to call
You
them?
can call them up.
Okay, so the first person we're going to start with the list is going to be NBC National, Liz Price.
Right here. Can you walk us through that timeline from when you believe, if you look at this here, from 147 to 228, what you think happened there and what particular software would have detected somebody on camera?
I don't. I know we know the software that was there. But I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm just not in the weeds. I know that. Think of your doorbell cameras. Somebody walks up. My wife's. If I walk up, she gets an alert, and it's usually something like that. A person's detected.
So to understand them involved, one, does that mean that it was about a 45-minute span that this suspect or suspects would have been on the property? And then also, does this essentially mean that you've cooperated with the tech companies and you can officially say that no surveillance video is available from now?
We know that the tech company that we sent that camera off to, yes, they've said they've run out of ways to recover any video.
Next
And was that
person,
about 45
next person is
minutes?
going to be ABC News, Aaron Katersky.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Was
Okay,
what
so
45
Can
minutes?
we say it's about a 45-minute span that somebody would have been on the property then from 147 to 228?
Yeah, I think those times speak for themselves, and it is about, like I say, those are approximates. So yes. I'm sorry. Who was next? Did you
Aaron
say?
Katersky, ABC News.
Hi, Sheriff. Thanks very much. Is there information that you are purposefully withholding because of the active investigation that might be leading you in a particular direction?
You know, this is no different than any criminal investigation that we conduct here. Law enforcement has conducted investigations since 1865 here in Pima County. We're always mindful of what it is that's in front of us and what we should release and can release. There's legal guidelines that guide us, but there's also strategy too. So, I'll leave that for you to determine.
Now that you are having such an injection of manpower from the Pima critical incident team and the FBI, we just slow to bring that in at the outset. Should all of these resources been brought to bear sooner?
I guess that it's Monday morning quarterbacking. I do it all the time, so you have the opportunity to do it for me. I'll take that hit.
CBS News, Jonathan Vigliotti.
Sheriff over here, has there been any proof of life, and has there been any sign of life?
I'm going to anything to deal with the ransom notes and that I would defer to the FBI, but no, to my knowledge, we're still looking for Nancy.
And for my follow-up question, if I can speak with the special agent, what was it about this apparent ransom note that now 3 days on, you first haven't been able to validate, and second, it warranted informing the Guthries of its existence?
So the ransom note that was sent out there, obviously every lead in this case, we are taking extremely serious.
But not
Given-
everyone is presented to the family. Why this one?
because this was the ransom that came in and it had facts associated with a deadline, with a monetary value they were asking for. So at that point,
what were some of those facts, if you can, because there's been a lot of speculation, as you know, if you can set the record straight.
yeah, the ransom itself, one talked about an Apple Watch and one talked about a floodlight. We're not going to go into specifics. It's very important that we keep this investigation moving forward, and we don't want to put more facts out there that others then can use to try to profit from this.
CNN, next, Ed Lavandera.
Hey, Agent, I want to follow up with you real quick on that. There have been, as far as we know, I think 3 ransom notes so far, 1 arrest. Are they all different? Do you think there's different authors behind all of them, or?
So the one that went to the media is the one we are currently investigating and working on. The imposter that I talked about, where an arrest was made early this morning, that there will be more information. We believe there's no evidence to connect this to Nancy's case. It was someone that was trying to profit from it, a total imposter.
And Sheriff, you started off the press conference by saying you believe that Nancy is still out there. Do you have reason to believe that she's still out there alive, or are you fearful of the worst case scenario here, that she won't be found alive?
Well, I'm certainly fearful of that. I think we all are. But it is we operate from a position that until we know she's out there, she's alive, and we're going to continue thinking that way until we find her.
Fox Digital, Mike Reese.
Yeah, sir. Mike Reese from Fox Digital. Sheriff, you said you've identified no suspects. Have you ruled out anyone she was with on Saturday night?
You know, we've talked to so many. I'm sure that my investigators have feelings about this one's clear or this one isn't. But no, I wouldn't say anybody's ruled out yet, because what if I rule you out and then later I learn something else? No.
So my follow-up, you mentioned that you don't know where the reporting of a forced entry came from. Do we know how whoever did this got into her house?
That I would not discuss with you anyway.
Fox News, Paul Morrow.
Question for Agent Edwards, if I may. Agent Edwards, will the Bureau be submitting the DNA for an investigative genealogical investigation relative to maybe hitting a relative, somebody, if you will?
I would say the DNA aspect of this case is being handled by the Pima County Sheriff's Department right now. However, should we get to that point, yes, that would be an option for the FBI to assist.
And a quick follow-up. Does the ransom note that you're working establish any communication protocols in it?
No, it does not. And that is what I think is important, that if someone has Nancy and is demanding the ransom, that there is communication with the family. We talked about has been no proof of life, and there was no other demands within that letter. So they're still waiting for communication.
ABC affiliate, Ashley Holden.
Right here, Ashley Holden. When you say the doorbell camera was disconnected, do you believe that camera was taken?
We do not have it in our possession. We've not located.
And then a follow-up. I know that we've been hearing a lot about ransom notes. We were also hearing in that video that was put out by the Guthrie siblings, and I don't know if this is a question for the FBI or yourself, but the challenges of seeing an image and knowing that it's real. Could one of you address that? Has the family received correspondence in images, videos?
So we're not going to go into facts regarding this part of the investigation. I think part of that message was, with AI these days, you can make videos that appear to be very real. So we can't just take a video and trust that is a proof of life these days, because of the advancements in AI and trying to actually get a proof of life that we can verify. But we're not going to go into anything the family may or may not have received.
KOLD, Catherine Patterson.
So in regards to a timeline on that ransom note, is that being an impact in your investigation? Are we nearing that timeline?
I'm sorry, one more time.
So in regards to the timeline in the ransom note, are we nearing that timeline? And is that playing a part in the investigation?
We're not going to go again into specifics of that part of the investigation with ransom note, other than what we've put out there. We've been transparent. We're talking about, we are working that ransom demand, but we don't want to go anything further than that could impact any opportunities. So thank you.
Is there any additional physical evidence at the crime scene other than the technology that you guys are using for this timeline? Is there anything else that's helping you guys other than really the technology?
Well, I think I said on day one is that it's technology that's going to really help us solve this case. But no, I mean, you know, we did do a process of that scene for biological evidence. So we're still hopeful that maybe something will show up there as well.
Arizona Republic, Richard Relas.
Agent Yankee.
Yes.
We saw on the scene, I believe it was you, taking a tripod into the home of the sister. How involved was the FBI, if at all, in creating the video? Any advice for the family?
I would say we use our expertise and provide consultation and advice anytime a family would ask for our advice in a kidnapping. It's ultimately the family's decision of what they put out and any messages they put out. But we were, obviously, you're all documenting every move we make. We were there last night in talking with the family. But every decision is theirs.
Right, and that was a tripod and a ring light. And Sheriff Nanos, you said the blood was found on the porch and on the front stoop. Just wanted to verify that.
I say porch, front stoop. It's all in that same general area by the front door.
Front of the house.
Front door, yes.
What, given her medical condition and the fact that it was her blood, as you say, what would her medical condition do with her recovery if she indeed bled out or was bleeding when she left the house?
Well, again, I've got to be careful for HIPAA, but I would say this. We know she is in need of medication, daily medication. And we also know that this is day 4 or 5 and still we don't know that she's getting her medication. That could in itself prove fatal.
And for the,
That'll be that question. For KGUN News, we have Craig Smith or Athena.
I'll get that for you. I'll get his name.
Craig?
KGUN, Athena.
Oh, okay.
Have you been in communication with anyone who you believe could be the kidnapper?
You know, it goes back to what we talked about. Nobody's eliminated, but we just really don't have enough to say, this is our suspect, this is our guy, we know, or our gal. We just don't know that. And it's really kind of reckless to report that someone is a suspect when they could very well be a victim. It just, I bring to you, to the media, I plead with you to be careful of what it is we put out there, because we don't have anybody here listed as a suspect, and you could actually be doing some damage to the case, but you can do some damage to that individual too. This is social media is kind of an ugly world sometimes.
And how far out have you expanded your search, you say?
You know, I would tell you this, look, nothing's off the table. If we get a lead that there's somebody, hey, you've got this over here or over here, we're going, and that will expand and expand and expand. I think the FBI, with their billboards, they're now planning to put those up at every state around here, at all of our neighboring states. So, we use you, the national media, the FBI with their national outreach, to affect that for us. But as far as the actual investigation, naturally the scene is the primary, and we just keep spreading it out as we get more and more leads.
Court TV, Cody Thomas.
Hi there, Sheriff. Actually, my question is for Agent Yankee. You know, we saw Savannah Guthrie and her sibling family put out that video last night on Instagram addressing, you know, the tragedy that this is, but also addressing the ransom letter saying they're ready to talk. My question is, did the FBI or any other agency help them craft that message to put out on social media?
Like I said to the previous question, we have an expertise when it comes to kidnappings. And when families want advice, consultation, expertise, we will provide that. But the ultimate decisions on what they say and how they put that out rests with the family itself.
And as far as suspects, I know we haven't identified one, but what type of suspect or suspects do we think we're dealing with here?
At this time, like the sheriff has said, there is no primary suspect identified, so it could run the gamut. So,
KPNX, Troy Hayden.
Are you actively investigating the son-in-law in this case? So there were reports earlier this week, and you refuted that. You said you haven't eliminated everybody. Have you eliminated him or come close to it, or are you actively looking at him?
We're actively looking at everybody we come across in this case. Everybody. We would be irresponsible if we didn't talk to everybody. The Uber driver, the gardener, the pool person, whoever. Everybody. It's so cliche, but everybody's still a suspect in our eyes. That's just how we look at things and think as cops. Does that mean we have a prime suspect? No, and the family's been very cooperative. They've done everything we've asked of them, and we want that relationship to continue. And sometimes people can be mean out there, and that can really harm us and harm our efforts.
Did you find blood anywhere else in the home besides the porch?
The only DNA evidence we got back is on the porch. We prioritize things and we rush things, and those items we put out to a lab to rush it. And even then it's 2, 3, 4 days. The other items could take 10 days, 20 days, but we saw the importance of that blood. It came back to Nancy.
So it was only there, it wasn't anywhere else in the house?
I don't know that. We processed the house for biological evidence, and we've not gotten anything back.
Newsmax, Sarah Williamson.
Hi there. My question is just piggybacking off our colleagues here about how far this search has gone. When it comes to doorbell cameras, you say technology plays a critical role in this. Have you been actively door knocking the neighbors and businesses and collecting those doorbell cameras? And is there anything that has come up there, and how far is that?
I can't tell you whether things have come up or not, but we have door to door. I think we're still doing door to door, not just in that neighborhood, but other neighborhoods. Just as leads come in and take us somewhere, we're going to do those things.
Okay, and just to follow up as well in regards to the video that was released by Nancy Guthrie's children last night, just to clarify, that was not coordinated with any law enforcement beforehand, and that you hadn't seen that video before it was released.
The FBI is handling all things with the ransom.
I think the answer was yes, we were there. The media was there. We can help coordinate, provide that consultation, but that is the family's decision of what they film and what they put out.
Fox 10, Justin Loom.
Agent Yankee, this one's for you. Following up on that video that was released yesterday, it said, ultimately further action is decided on by the family. Since then, have they expressed any more interest in more efforts to try and get in contact with who is behind the ransom letter? And do you have a crisis or any sort of hostage negotiator with your team for that type of situation if it moves forward?
So the two parts of that question I think it's pretty clear. The family wants to be contacted. They know time is of the essence. And if those that may have Nancy are watching this, the family is ready to talk, get proof of life, because there has been no contact after that ransom note went to the media. For your second question, yes, we have crisis negotiators. That is part of our team here locally, along with the personnel we brought in from Quantico, and they will be part of it. But we're not going to go beyond that of any specifics.
Sheriff Nanos, taking down the crime scene perimeter after Monday's investigation and really opening access to that property to everyone else, was that something you would do differently looking back, knowing that federal authorities also conducted a search yesterday? Would you have kept that perimeter up, knowing that?
Monday morning quarterback, I probably would have, but I'll say this. We processed the scene. We got what we thought was complete. My team did that. I have to have all the faith and trust in their abilities and their skills, and I think they went through that pretty well. But because another agency now steps in and wants to assist, we're just like with you, we're an open book. Absolutely. How can we help? One of the things people don't see, I heard your question about, and we left and then others could walk up. When we process a scene and we're done, we return that scene to in this case, the homeowners, the family. And we don't just go march back in there. we call the family again and get permissions to go back to the home. So yeah, there's, again, Monday morning quarterback, absolutely. I probably could have held off on that. We knew that the FBI, we've worked with them before in a lot of cases, and we felt like they could be of help in this with particularly the forensic analysis we use in a number of things. But we, at the start of this thing, we weren't sure what we had. And as the day progressed, we realized that there could be more to this. And we started in that. Remember, it was a search and rescue mission the first few hours. And we transitioned that over to a criminal investigation. With that, brought in our partners from the FBI and others.
Univision, Claudia Ramos. Univision, Claudia
I was actually
Ramos.
going to ask about that. We saw the message yesterday.
Are you
Sheriff-
next?
Claudia, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Univision. Following up on that, we saw the message from the president yesterday. Have you personally received any communication from him or
No, and I wouldn't expect that. He too is a busy man, right? And I would say this: we thank him for him opening up his entire law enforcement team, as was put out yesterday, and we know, I know my local reporters here know we've always worked well with all of our partners in law enforcement. Maybe it's something unique to Southern Arizona, and the rest of the country doesn't see that, but this isn't new for us. We've done this. Gabby Giffords, I headed up that investigation many years ago, and we worked side by side. Could not have got things done if we weren't with the FBI on that.
And just the other question, this being a border state, have you guys had any communication with Mexican authorities?
I have not. I work closely with the Mexican consulate, as other consulates, being the sheriff, but no, I've not heard from them.
Arizona, Univision, Monterrey.
Hi, Sheriff. My question is, do you know, it's a two-part question, do you know what medication Nancy uses? And have you checked the local pharmacies and pharmacies around the state where they bought her say this medication to keep her alive, to keep her healthy, while still look for her?
So we do know what medications, and we have contacted pharmacies. Probably need to go back to just make sure that they didn't. Maybe we contacted them early on. I know that night, Sunday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning. I know we were doing all the hospital checks, and that check was continuous every hour, going back out and physically in person. Deputies were going to each local area hospital and asking them to check their logs.
My second question here is, I know you're looking for her in Pima County. Are you looking for her across the state now? And if so, if there's a particular area that you're focusing on right now?
Well, we're looking for her everywhere, right? The FBI just made an arrest on a tip that we got that we thought there could be something here. There's it's statewide. The billboards are going to be out there across the country. We take leads from everywhere, and where those leads take us, we'll get there.
MS Now, Alex Talbot.
Agent Yankee, do you have any reason to believe that Nancy Guthrie may be being held outside of the country? Is that something that you ruled out at this point?
We don't have any of that information. We haven't ruled anything out. Like the sheriff said, we will follow the facts wherever they take us, whether it is outside of the state of Arizona or over the border. We will follow the facts and go there. But we have no indication anything over the Mexican border.
And you mentioned on the ransom note there were details about the Apple Watch and the floodlight.
Yep.
The ransom notes that were sent out to TMZ, KGUN, and KOLD, are they all the same ransom note? Do they contain the same details in each of those individual ransom notes?
The ones that I am tracking and aware of were the same that went to TMZ also.
News Nation, Brian Enton.
Agent Yankee, sorry.
Yes.
When did the first ransom note arrive? And the reason I ask is because the Apple Watch has been in the news and on social media, and you could see like floodlights on video. So was it before those things were out in the world?
I don't have the specific time frame as I sit here today of what time it came in, but that you are right. Anyone could see a floodlight hanging down, could have seen some of those things. The watch has been talked about, so that timing is tricky, but that's why we're taking it serious no matter what and following the leads on that. But I don't have the time frame that the first note came in. as I sit here today. Thank you.
And my follow-up is for the sheriff. In the house, were there any signs that someone tried to clean up or maybe destroy evidence?
I can't talk about the crime scene, so I'll give you another shot, another question.
My other question is, I heard the agents say that it was a joint investigation now. At the other press conference, the FBI said they were assisting. Is it joint now? I mean, are both agencies in charge now?
Look, there's no ego here. We in this part of the country, we'll take anybody's help. It's not about who's in charge. From day one, when we contacted the FBI, they were that gracious to say, whatever you need. And so that's really it. And they're great partners, just as my other local law enforcement brethren. I didn't even have to ask. That's what's really amazing. I haven't had to call anybody. They've called me. Sheriff, what do you need?
Arizona's family, Brianna Whitney.
Sheriff, I know you had the crime scene process. You said you went back out there. Your partners wanted to see it, but you guys were actively taking out evidence yesterday. Was there something you missed the first time, or did you get a new piece of information that led you to believe you needed to go back out and take more than you had that first day?
I know that we get information that will come, and this is just any crime scene that we look at. We may go out to a crime scene and think we got it all, go analyze the evidence, and something comes back and says, hey, did you check this? We're not going to just say, oops, and not go. Absolutely. In this instance, it really was the FBI just wanted to go, hey, can we take a look at it?
Are you worried about that being contaminated at all because there was people in that?
I'll let the courts worry about that. We will certainly be open to the courts of anything that's been removed from that house, and we follow the rules of laws. We get court orders and go back and reapply for another warrant if need be. All of those things we're very careful of.
Arizona Public Media, Lynn Boyd.
Ellen Boyd over here. In that news release yesterday, there was a report of a trespasser. Has the Guthrie family dealt with any incidents, threats, whether it's trespassing, social media threats, anything of that nature?
I am not aware of any of that. I know that we, as with any case, again, we would look at all of the background of calls to those families or their residents and see if there's anything there, or even in that neighborhood. Those things have been looked at. I don't know of anything that was reported in even the last 30 days or 60 days. Nobody's come to me and said, hey, next door you had a burglary.
Follow up for the neighborhood where Nancy's home is. Can you give any more details on that trespassing incident?
I don't have them.
Telemundo, Jesus Gonzalez.
It's for the API. I just have a question. Can you confirm if the API director is coming for the investigation?
Yes, Director Patel is being briefed several times a day on this investigation back in DC. He does have a trip scheduled to Tucson that was pre-scheduled before this, but he is receiving consistent and constant updates from our team here.
He's coming today?
He is not coming today.
And before you go to the next one, I know you may have had a follow-up question, but I think I overstepped you. So if you wanted to ask, I'll give you that opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you. At what point do you deem the ransom note not credible if there is no communication that follows up since you received it? Like, what's that timeline where you say, no proof of life, there's no more, this isn't credible?
I think we start to look at what the deadlines were in the note. First, I think was 5 o'clock today. And then it had a second deadline after that. So we are continuing in a normal kidnapping case. There would be contact by now trying to discuss that. But those are the timeframes we are looking at as we move forward.
Are you able to say that second deadline that was given?
I don't have that with me right now. So thank you.
Sorry about that. Entertainment Tonight, Denny Directo.
Yes, my question actually is for Agent Yonke. There was a report that said the ransom came from an email that the FBI was actually looking into that IP address. Any update on that?
Nothing that I can release. Thank you.
And then also, there's also conflicting reports about who was the last person to actually see Nancy and drive her home. We know she took an Uber to Annie's house, but can you confirm whether it was Annie or her son-in-law Tommaso who took her home that night?
I think the timeline that the sheriff provided was a family member, but
Just family.
Yeah.
That, we're gonna go with family.
Record TV, Vandre Piera.
Sure. We are for national, so we're not familiar with the area, so we think that it's a remote area. So my question is, why is it so hard to track a car or something suspicious that have passed through the area at that night? How difficult it is, because probably cameras around or something.
Yeah, you're talking about the challenges we face in some of being in a rural area like this. Those are challenges we face all the time. We'd love it to have all the cameras in what we would consider a more urban nature type area. But once you get out into the community, that's not the only part of Tucson that is that way. And we just find ways to overcome those challenges. We don't just disregard it. We still look at ways to find for example, ring cameras that might catch just a piece of something goes by, it doesn't catch the whole car. Those kinds of things. We don't give up. We still go out.
But not at least a car that came out
I
at that night.
I can't.
I mean, like miles from the house.
We have cameras all over, and those things are being reviewed.
Arizona Republic, Richard Relas.
I'm a different person.
Did he get two?
Yeah, it's the second one.
Was that you?
Oh, sorry.
No.
All right. Thank you guys for keeping us honest. No, you already asked your question, so we're gonna go to the New York Times with Reese. And I apologize for getting your name wrong here, Reese. Tebow?
No, you're close.
Tebow.
Hi, Sheriff.
Hi.
The 212, the camera that detected movement at 212, was that a different camera than the one that was disconnected at 147, and where was it pointed?
We don't know that. We don't know which camera that was. That when we did the software, it just told us that a person was detected. But I'm unaware of which camera that was.
So there were multiple cameras, and you're not sure.
Sure. There were multiple cameras at the home.
Okay. And is there a possibility that this is not a ransom situation? And if so, what else could it be?
Your guess is as good as mine. I would say absolutely there's a possibility that this is nothing to do with a kidnapping. But we cover all angles. We're not going to dismiss something until we actually know for a fact that it's one way or the other.
People Magazine, we have Danielle Walker.
So I wanted a little more clarity to follow up on his. Is there anything more you can say? Was this actually targeted or not? Do you have any?
That's why we have the FBI to look at those areas where there may have been a target. Maybe it is a kidnapping. But no, we don't have anything to rule that out or to say it is.
And as far as the ransom notes, there was a part in there about Bitcoin. Are you looking into that now, investigating?
Yes, that's part of the investigation.
Can you go and elaborate any further if you found anything or if there's any ties or any suspects tied to that Bitcoin?
There is not at this time.
Associated Press, Joe Bovendera.
Hi, Sheriff. Just to follow up to
You're Joe?
I'm sorry?
You're Joe?
Bovendera.
Oh, I thought you said Joe. Okay.
Just to follow up to a prior question, you had said early in the investigation that authorities don't believe Nancy Guthrie was targeted. Why don't authorities think that Nancy Guthrie was targeted?
Who said that? Who said they didn't
You had
think
said
she?
that early in the investigation.
Boy, if I said I absolutely misspoke. I've never thought she was or wasn't targeted. We've always believed that is certainly a possibility. I mean, you'd be silly not to think that. Somebody disappears in the middle of the night out of their home. You can understand where I'm coming from. But no, if I said that, obviously I misspoke or maybe somebody misheard me. But I've never believed that she was or was not a target.
Is there anything more specific you can say about what you believe the motive to be for this kidnapping at this time?
Motive's always going to be a question, and we'll know more as we go what that motive is. But right now, my guesswork is as good as yours.
And can you
And
talk
then we
a little bit?
also have, the final one will be from, KVOA here in Tucson, Monica Garcia.
Okay, so let's talk about that 5 p.m. You say 5 p.m. deadline today. Is that the deadline? Oh, maybe that's for the FBI.
Yes.
Can you just give us some sound on that? Because that's a big deal. That's within hours about that 5 p.m. deadline per the ransom note. And then what's supposed to happen after that?
So the ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today, and if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday. We're not going to go beyond that, but that was the ransom note the media received.
Did it indicate what would happen if they didn't meet that ransom? Did they?
We're not going to go into those specifics. Thank you.
5 p.m. Eastern, I'm sorry, I know it's not Arizona. Just 5 p.m.
I don't.
It's 5 p.m.
And then, sorry about that, Inside Edition, Jim Murray.
Special Agent Yonke, given the fact that the FBI participated in the creation of this family video, does that suggest your belief that the author or authors of that ransom note, in fact, have Nancy Guthrie?
Again, we're taking the ransom note serious, and we are following that part of the investigation.
And does the fact that there is a ransom note suggest to you that Nancy Guthrie was taken specifically because she's Savannah's mom?
There's nothing to indicate that.
Thank you guys so much for all of your questions. The sheriff does have just one more note about what happens next year, or what doesn't happen next.
Well, it's what happens for us is we're going to continue working. For you though, I hope this worked out well for you. But right now, I have no plans to schedule any further press conferences unless we have some real evidence or something to bring up to you. It's pretty pointless to just keep hounding the same things over and over. And as Special Agent in Charge Yonke said, please give us some space, and that's not just physical space. Give us some space, give my team some time, because these things do take time and they are difficult. And everybody out there is really working hard. And mistakes are going to be made. And if I made them, mea culpa, it won't be the first mistake I've ever made. But more important than me is we want Nancy back. That's the key. Okay. So thank you very much. And thank you for your concern in this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, there you have it. Yep. Chris, you're muted still. You're muted. Okay, there we go. Okay, first, how's the sound? Real quick.
Sounds good. You sound
okay.
good.
Wow, you guys.
Okay, and by the way, we see all your questions up here. I mean, I've been flagging a bunch of them. And so, let's put our seatbelts on, number one. Okay.
Yes, I have to
decompress.
Yes. Okay. So Chris, let's do this. I want to go through, I wrote down on my notes all the things that jumped out at me at this press conference. I'm going to just touch on them. Let's hear what jumped out at you. And then let's go
through my notebook too, because I want to start making notes in my book.
Okay, sounds great. We are going to go through these one by one. So as I just said, let me jump in. Okay, here we go. The timeline that the Pima County Sheriff just gave us is completely new. We have not heard this. So we're going to go back to that timeline. My notes are all over here. Okay, the FBI has made an arrest of an imposter who tried to profit from the ransom note. So that was a mic drop. Nancy took an Uber ride Saturday evening, 5:32 to go to her daughter's house. Not unusual. We're going to come back and talk about that. I still, at first, didn't hear who dropped Nancy off Saturday evening at the house. I think I heard that mumbling and bumbling sheriff say them. So I believe he was referring to the daughter Annie and her husband. We'll get back to that. The ransom note that was talked about, the FBI said, well, an Apple Watch and a floodlight at the home was mentioned in the ransom note that went out to the media. But Brian Enton very smartly asked one of his follow-up questions, well, wait a minute, when did the ransom note come in? And could they have been just making it up based on following the case and hearing details? That was huge. Okay. Let's see. There's a $50,000 reward for the recovery of Nancy and or the arrest of whoever did this. That's new. Guys, remember, we were at a $2,500 reward. FBI stepped up today and said, no, $50,000 reward. The sheriff said, we're actively looking at everyone. Everyone is still a suspect, which we do often hear that kind of language this far along in these types of cases. Other things, there were multiple cameras at the home. We found out, oh, this was huge. You guys, we're going to come back to this. So the doorbell camera disconnected at 1:47 a.m., meaning somebody disconnected it. Disconnected or smashed, does it even matter? Okay, disoperated that Nest camera at the house. 2:12 a.m., a person was seen on the camera. Okay, but there's no subscription. We're going to talk about that. That does make sense. Unless you pay for a subscription to sit in the cloud, your stuff doesn't record.
Well, wait a minute. To that point, okay, hang on. We're presupposing it's the doorbell camera that he's talking about. He says software detected a person at 2:12 a.m. Is there something else in the house?
Great point. We're going to come back to that. I'm just hitting my highlights. A couple other things. When the sheriff was pressed on, is Nancy's son-in-law considered a possible suspect in this case? He said, we are looking at everybody. He said he wants to preserve the relationship with the family. Chris will talk about that later. That's a lesser point. There was mention that there's going to be billboards used across the country in trying to find Nancy and locate her. We will get back to that. As far as we're concerned, we haven't left the house. We have not left her house, okay? The FBI went back. So yesterday when we saw the FBI back at the home, after Pima County Sheriff's Office wrapped it up after day one, that clearly was evidence that Pima County missed. FBI went back in and they came out with evidence that they took out. That was huge. Oh my goodness. Okay. Chris, what was on your list?
Okay. So let's run by the timeline again. Okay. First of all, the ASAC and the assistant ASIC are both there in this particular, situation. All right. First and foremost, as the sheriff was trying to tell everybody, like you just mentioned, they're not going to come out and say, oh, by the way, yeah, you guys got it A, B, C, and D. Here's the prime suspect or somebody of, interest. And that can go either way sometimes, right, Karen? I mean,
Yeah.
we've been there. Okay.
Absolutely. And by the way, just before we start, I felt like the adults came into the room. Daddy came home with the FBI standing up there, not bumbling and saying emphatically, these are the facts. This is what we have. This is where the investigation is going. Stark contrast, again, from the bumbling and fumbling sheriff who is all about me, and I. So
there were a couple of times there where, he went like that and he walked. I saw you blowing a gasket because I've seen you in that scenario before going, what the heck was that? Okay. I mean, but that aside, I'm going to give him some grace right now because I don't think he's done a lot of this caliber. Okay.
We can talk more about that later, but here's my one thing. If you are going to be an elected official, a police chief or a sheriff, police chiefs are not elected. If you're going to be an elected official in Pima County, it's a huge county. Okay. I don't care if you're in Fruitland, Idaho, to contrast. You got to know what you're doing. You have to expect you're going to have a major case. There's no excuses. There's media training available, and bumbling and fumbling doesn't work, doesn't cut it. It is what it is.
I know that, and that's your lane. That's why I'm saying I've seen you go, oh, okay.
Now let's get past the sheriff. Let's
Let's
talk
get past-
about the meat and potatoes here. Go ahead.
Right. 5:32. Nancy is at a family gathering. PM. 9:48. She's dropped off back at the house, and the garage door indicates at 9:48 there was entry. At 9:50, the garage door is closed. Now, remember last night, I talked about the tire tracks near the garage. I just thought they were an anomaly, that they were just kind of like, and now today we hear that that may have been her point of entry into the residence. So that may be a suspect's car of some sort and or a family car or whoever. What we didn't hear is who activated the garage door. I want to know that. So if we're all taking notes, that's one question we're going to have, because if it is, somebody with a clicker, i.e. another family car or whatever, then we would want to know that, because the second thing we didn't hear is who dropped her off.
Exactly. And we did not get a clear answer. I heard the sheriff say them. Is them the daughter and the son-in-law? We've heard different things. And so that's very important information. And I feel like we don't even have that.
Okay. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. At 1:47 a.m., the front doorbell camera is disconnected. Now, what this is showing here is some thought process taking place. At 2:12 a.m., the sheriff doesn't tell us where it came from, but he says software detects a person. Now that could be neighbors, that could be the house, that could be inside. Something detected a person at 2:12 a.m. around the Guthrie residence.
He also said she did not have a subscription, meaning cloud storage. That's what I heard him say.
Okay. So from that 1:47 to 2:12, and then he goes at 2:28 a.m., her Apple Watch disconnects from her pacemaker.
App.
That is okay. This is 39 minutes with Nancy Guthrie. 39 minutes. Think about that. That is a very long time to plan, think about an 84-year-old woman and how you're going to get her out of the house. Or now this, you've got this suspect going, okay, what's my risk level? And what's my intent? arranged within 39 minutes. That's a very long time to potentially be in that house. Okay. 11:56 a.m., the family goes to check on her. What we did not hear is what led up to them going over to see where mom was.
That's a great point. So they were subtracting information that they actually previously talked about, which is really bad, really bad.
Okay. 12:03 p.m., the 911 call comes in. So that's 8 minutes in the time frame that the sheriff gave here. Okay. So we hear information about the church. She doesn't show up. They call the family members, but we also heard information about the family members got there and started looking for her. Okay. And didn't call right away. And I think there was some confusion about that. But what the sheriff is saying today, based on this timeline here, is 11:56, they check on her. 12:03, they call 911. Now, one of the things that bothered me was when the FBI was asked, about who dropped her off and this other stuff, the sheriff said, and you guys can go back and listen to it carefully, we're going to go with the family.
Yes.
Did you catch that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's a huge red flag.
Tell us why.
Well, because again, remember I said that you've got two lanes going here right now from an investigative analysis aspect. Remember I talked about in the war room, you're going to put up, we know there are, I said it yesterday and I said it even a couple of days ago. The cellular analysis teams are there. Now the sheriff has brought in this, rapid response team from all of the Valley area in Tucson, Phoenix, et cetera. And basically, it's a fugitive task force is what it is, okay? He just kind of hem and hawed that says, yeah, we called everybody out and a couple of the ICAC guys were there, okay? Okay, I'm going to tell you right 1,000%, those guys, they're so busy trying to catch people that are predatorial on children. They're not going to say, hey, we need you over here for a missing 84-year-old woman. Okay. That ain't going to happen. I'm telling you right now, mark my words on it. Okay. There's a reason those guys showed up at that house. Okay. And it wasn't just a search. Okay. For Nancy. Now, tie that into this idea of they went back to the house to search it again. They got consent. The only person who can give consent to search that house is Miss Guthrie, because she has control over that home under the Fourth Amendment unless there's a power of attorney. If she has given power of attorney to other family members and it's in writing somewhere, they can say, well, we have power of attorney, so we give you consent to search her house.
But doesn't that all go out the window with a criminal investigation?
No, because the exigent circumstances has expired, because they went into the house with the intent of saying, oh, we have an 84-year-old woman missing. Okay. And okay, well, the courts are going to say, all right, well, get a warrant and you can search that house. Lay out the probable cause of these exigent circumstances. Well, she's 84. She disappeared at 2:00 in the morning, Your Honor. Okay, I remember. And they probably got a telephonic search warrant. Okay. And now, once they're done processing that scene, that exigent circumstances expires. And that's why they had to go and get consent again from a family member, he said. Okay. Well, that family member has to have dominion and control over that piece of property. You just can't say, well, that's my mom's house. Well, the courts are going to say, okay, yeah. It's like let's say a family member says, well, I want to get into my dad's bank account because he's 84. The courts are going to say, it's your dad's money. Yeah, but he's going down to the, to the bookstores and to the clubs, these gentlemen clubs, and he's given all this money, to whatever. It's
okay. Okay, so question. I want to pull it back because I've got so much racing through my head right
there. Crime scene. Let's put it to you that way. The moment they drove away and took that tape down, it expires.
Gotcha. The bigger point to me as a journalist is that I think the FBI had a conversation with Pima County. Somebody may have said, oops, we didn't get that. To your point, they get permission. They go back in because the FBI was lead in that house the second time, which was what, yesterday, if I don't have it confused, and they walked out with evidence that clearly Pima County missed. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, the FBI response team came back and the sheriff played it off as, well, they wanted to see it too.
Right.
Okay. Do you notice they had to start all over again? That's my point. It's no longer an active crime scene. Okay. They had to start all over again. And what's the first thing he said? We got consent to go back into the house. That means, again, it had expired. The law is clear. Okay. Now they could have held that house for a week. But the tape had to be up. You had to have an officer at the door 24/7. You had to have a cop out there, a la Brian Koberger's house,
right.
1122. Okay. But the moment they walk away and the cops say, okay, we're done. Okay. So the FBI shows up and says, hey, and they probably brought the BAU in there, the Behavior Analysis Unit. And that's what the SAC said. We have people from Quantico. Well, that's the behavior science, the BAU, the Behavior Analysis Unit. And they went back into the house and they go, okay, and they're looking for the anomalies, right? They're looking for things that the behavioral aspects of this and who the potential, person could be. Okay. And so now in order to do that, they had to get somebody in the family circle that has some type of dominion and control over that home, i.e., is there paperwork out there that says, yes, and if it's her daughter, if she owns the house, or like somebody, people are saying she's a lawyer and there may be, she may have power of attorney or that kind of stuff. Maybe mom doesn't even own the home. I don't know yet. I'm just saying there had to be somebody in the circle that says, yeah, we can sign these documents, go search again. Okay. If not, this is where like he said, the sheriff said, well, we'll let the court sort that out.
Yeah, that was a question from Brianna with that AZ family, I think. Anyway, she's an Arizona reporter in the Valley. Yeah, I caught that too. That was really interesting. So basically, she was the only one that asked the question of, did you guys screw up the investigations, not how she worded it, by having to go back in the second time? So Chris, my question to you is, how critical is that?
Well, everything, if it's not by the book, becomes what they call fruit of the poisonous tree. if they get information in that home, i.e. suspect DNA, with on the second time and not necessarily the first time, then you've just opened the door for the defense to come in and create all kinds of problems. Okay. So now there's another piece of this. There are two things happening here. What the FBI is saying clearly in this ransom letter or the ransom note, it's up to the family to make decisions of whether or not they want to pay monies or anything like that. And this is what I was talking about last night. Okay. I think the ransom note or the letters read were, there was a combination plate of the BAU or somebody, on a local level, a criminal behavior analyst, okay, that helped them craft that note looking for, proof of life. Okay. They have not received that yet. And he said something very important. There's a 5 p.m. deadline today. But the person who wrote the note also gave a secondary deadline of, well, if I don't get it by 5 p.m. today, you have until next Monday. So they've extended that time period. That's a good thing. Because what they're trying to do now, and we don't know if this is happening behind the scenes, okay, that there could be dialogue going on as we are on this podcast live between the FBI and a possible somebody who has her. If this is a ransom situation and she's alive. But he also said, the SAC said, we have no proof of life yet. So now that then you think of two trains rapidly going down the tracks. The first train is the Pima County Sheriff's Office. And they are, trust me, they are the point in this case. They are running point. The FBI, like I said before we even started the press conference, they're there with resources and they're there, to throw a whole bunch of information, available to the sheriff's department and say, look, what do you guys need? Do you need people? Do you need, you need evidence collection? Okay, well, in order for us to do our thing, we got to have an idea of what you're seeing, what you're doing, and what you've already seen and what you've already done. And that's why they go back and they visit the crime scene. That crime, as I've said, that house is key to solving this crime. The other stuff is noise right now. Okay. There's a lot of noise out here. But again, the victim risk continuum points to a very low risk victim. Again, so that means you go back to all the other circles around this victim. Pool man. And the sheriff even mentioned, hey, we've talked to this guy. We even talked to the Uber driver. Okay. That's the right track to stay on. Okay. Because it's going to turn into, okay, we've gone down that road. Now, what are the other things happening in a geographical aspect around her home? And that's where you get the information where you're during the canvassing, where you ask the citizens, has there been any suspicious activity in the last 1 to 2 weeks around this particular area? Oh yeah, there was a crazy Amazon guy here. I've got Ring camera who was taking photographs over, a wall. Oh, by the way, yeah, in September last year, there was a girl that was pretending she was an Amazon driver, and there were 3 guys that broke into the house. I've got video of that, which, by the way, is on the Pima County Sheriff's Office websites or on their Facebook page. So those are the secondary kind of problems that you start looking at. Okay. But they're happening at the same time. You have the FBI, you say, look, in September, we had this video, take a look. Okay. You guys handle that. And the SAC will go, okay, you got how many agents you need? 3. Okay, you 3? Yeah. Boom. This is your mission. Make that happen. What else do we have? Hey, we had this Amazon guy, that was peeping, taking pictures, we hooked him up, et cetera, et cetera. First question, is he out of jail? Well, yeah, he's still in custody. Okay, well, then let's take him off the list quickly because he's in jail. He can't pull this off. However, you two go over, interview him, see if he has any friends. Okay. And those are the kind of things that start picking off pretty fast. Okay. That's where the FBI comes in. Now, simultaneously, they're going to have their own briefings. Okay. And they're going to bring the sheriff in and probably the lead investigator. And everybody's going to sit around, they're going to debrief and they're going to go, hey, have you guys considered? Okay. And the sheriff may go, well, we didn't know about that. He says, okay, well, this is what we found out. And that's how the cross communication comes in. Okay. And now what is concerning, but again, the SAC answered it is we take everything seriously. And here's what was concerning. And Brian Enton asked the question. Well, there was circulating video of the floodlight. And he says, yeah, we're very aware of that. But then he qualified it with, is the Apple Watch out there as well? So what he didn't say was we're 1,000% behind this letter of demand. And that's where he transferred it back to the family. Because there have been cases, and the BAU in their hostage negotiations will tell you, there have been many cases out there where families are getting scammed. And in today's world, in this case already, they hooked up somebody and are federally charging them for trying to jump on the gravy train here at the behest and the expense of Mrs. Guthrie. And they've hooked them up and they've charged them. That means there was other communications going on behind the scenes that nobody knew about, that this guy was trying to take advantage of, and he was probably trying to communicate with the family. Does that make sense? Hun?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes.
All right. But then they have to keep the communication open because there's a 5 p.m. deadline today. And there's a whole new group of FBI agents that are handling that. And I'm not going to talk about tactics or circumstances that, if in fact that's a legit lane here, I'm still going to stay with the idea and that this is going to be somebody associated to that home in some way, shape, or another. And when we say targeted, okay, it's not like a stranger that targeted, quote unquote, Miss Guthrie. Because we also heard him say on one of the media questions, well, do you think this has anything to do with her daughter? And he responded right away, we have no indication of that. So big takeaways for me, the idea of could this be legit? They're not going to take anything off the table. The other big takeaway for me, they're still at the house. And the fact that they arrested an imposter and told the public that was kind of a hint that we don't know if there are other people playing that game. But if it's legit, you heard this ASAC say, and I quote, "Please return Nancy home." So he's not going to take it off the table. But behind the scenes, he's also just dealt with a guy who said, "Give us money or you don't get her back." And in fact, they hunted that guy down quickly and told the world just 15, 20 minutes ago, we're not playing that game. If you folks are out there thinking, this is some, Nigerian Bitcoin scam or India Bitcoin scam internationally, you've got another thing coming. Okay. And so the demand here is by 5 p.m. today, but here's the problem with that one. But if you don't get it to me today, I'll take it on Monday.
Yeah, didn't you find that really odd?
Yeah. That's problematic. Okay. So we go back to the garage door, 9:48. She's dropped that off at home, and the garage door is 9:48 opened. What he didn't mention is who opened it. Is there a keypad that mom walked up and went deet, 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 and it opened? Is there a door hit and it was a car that had dropped them off and they had a clicker? Okay. And 84 years old, if she can't walk 50 yards, 50 feet, maybe 100 feet, typically if it's a family member dropping her off, they're going to use the garage because, for obvious reasons, let's get you in the house. Come on. And they're going to get out and they're going to walk mom into the house. Okay. And that event took approximately 2 minutes because they have evidence that the garage closed at 9:50. So 2 minutes to get mom from whatever vehicle she got out of to get into the house. And then that garage door is coming down. Now at 1:47 a.m., and this is an interesting sequence. The front doorbell disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., so that is 25 minutes. Some type of software detects a person. At 2:28 a.m., 14 minutes later, her Apple Watch disconnects from her pacemaker. So if she's dropped off at 9:50, she is most definitely asleep in her bedroom. That is a total of 39 minutes that the suspect potentially was on scene and that her Apple Watch disappeared. 39 minutes is a very long time. Is a very long time. Hang on, let me get Karen my earbuds. Her earbuds just died. Give me a second. Hey, hon. Here. Use these and/or your microphone. Okay. Okay, she's coming back with us here in a second. Okay, so this is a very long time to manage an 84-year-old woman. We don't know what's going on during that time. The sheriff won't talk about the evidence inside of the house, which for obvious reasons. But that is an extremely long time to be in that house, potentially, or at least at that house. Okay. And so it sounds like the back door, the sheriff made it sound like there's no forced entry. So that tells us a little bit about the perpetrator as well. But is this a situation now that this is a hot prowl? Or is it a situation that somebody comes back because they knew one, okay, I got a door camera here. I need to pull this thing off and disconnect it. How would they have known that it's not connected to a server and or a cloud? Yeah, that's a problem. Hang on. I want to try to get her in here for a minute. Come in here. I value my wife's input a tremendous amount. I'm going to have her come sit next to me. Put her headsets on. Okay, while she's doing that, what are your guys' thoughts? Let me go through some of the questions up here. Okay, why is Ellie unable to retrieve Nest information from the cloud? Okay, I answered that one earlier. Here she comes. All right, we're going to set up here. Don't you love this new setup? Because now when we get a glitch like that where her stuff goes on, she can put these on. All right, come on in.
Oh my goodness.
Your mic should be hot.
Can you guys hear me? Testing, 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Talk a little louder.
Testing, 1, 2. Testing.
Can you guys hear Karen? I think you can.
Okay.
Whoops. Okay, we're back.
All right.
Can you guys hear Karen? You got to talk loud.
Yeah, they're saying yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's go through some of these questions. If they're playing board games before going home, could she have changed into her PJs? Great question. I don't have the answer to that, but that's always a possibility, of course. Okay. Did they impound the sister's car to retrieve GPS data? Could be.
Yeah, and didn't the sheriff kind of play that off like, well, we would process the car anyway?
Yeah, but you know, that's let me pull it. There you go, hon.
Okay.
You got to talk a little bit louder. You talk so soft. I love it.
I thought I was yelling earlier, but
Nope.
okay.
Due to mobility, do you think she was carried out? That is a great question. Okay. And let me answer that carefully by showing a picture. Okay. Here's the photograph that I want to show. Let me get this. All right. Difference of opinion sometimes are good. If you look at this photograph, and by the way, this was, I went back just to confirm. I went back and I saw when the cops were there and processing it the first time, I saw that they were photographing this and examining it, and that this brush stuff was in this position. So it wasn't wind in the afternoon or, et cetera. I think she was coming out of that house, and to me, I'm seeing like this mark right here, all of this. Okay. I'm going to put over here. Can you see my cursor moving? All of this right here, as if somebody is going forward and, something happens. Maybe the arm hits, we don't know what part of the body hits, but this is what they call a high velocity here. So it's kind of like that. Okay. Now, once that happens, okay, now the person potentially, and I see her maybe falling forward for a second, and something now, as she's kind of probably hesitating, or she's in that position for a second, because this blood droplets here, which, by the way, is on some of this is on top of some of these 90-degree blood droplets. And what these 90-degree blood droplets are, if you look at this one right here, for an example, this one that I'm circling, you see this tail? That tells me somebody's moving either from the nose, the mouth, the arm, or whatever, but it's droplets of blood that go straight down. So she could be in a position where she's trying to use her arms to get up, and her arms, her body is bleeding with her head over potentially, because those blood droplets are going straight down. Now, if we look at this over here, this could be something from like a bottom of a shoe. So I would want to know what bothered me from an investigative analysis aspect is this particular floor mat was not collected. It was left there.
Same. That was my first question.
Okay. Because if there's a confrontation taking place inside of the house, is this, we know it's hers because the sheriff tested it, but is this transfer from a shoe of the suspect from the blood inside the house? And is there a blood trail that leads from inside of the house out to the porch? We know where this blood trail starts. It starts on the porch, but they're holding it very, very close to the chest about what happened inside that house. Now, here's the second part that I think is interesting. If you look at this debris, we'll call it, it's a plant debris. Notice this blood over here. You see this? To the left, in this left quadrant here. This piece of debris is on top of the blood. So here's the thought process. If the debris is emanating from this aspect of the house, and it is, because I'll show you one more picture.
People can't see the cursor. That might be.
They can't see the cursor?
Some people can't see it.
Okay. I want to show you this photo. We can see in this photo that plant debris is up against, the right side. And I showed this last night. The right side of this door over here. First of all, okay, where's it coming from? Because you have it here on this brick by the door, by the window. Is it coming from inside the house, or was it on the outside of the house? And if so, if the suspect had disconnected the camera at 1:47 a.m., you would want this collected from a botanist and send it to a botanist and say, where is this leafy substance originating from? Is it in the field? And if so, where in the field around the house is this leafy substance coming from? And this is why one of the things we used to do when, these kind of cases is you take the air filter from a suspect's car. And, I've had, and Karen knows, I've had body dumps up in the mountains where I had suspects say, well, there was no way I was near there, man. Well, we took the air filter out of the dude's car, and lo and behold, the same pollens in that guy's car filter were around where the body was discovered. And now he's got a real problem. A real problem explaining how the same pollen got into his car filter. And by the way, science can go so far as to even pull genetic connections to like plants, to like trees, those kind of things. Okay, remember they're living organisms. So I wanted to know, okay, is the suspect behind her, and is he moving her out? Is he carrying her? Okay. Did he drop her? If God forbid, and this is the result of that, does she fall and these are coming off of an item that the suspect is holding, and then his feet are kicking the debris over the blood? Okay. These are all questions from a behavioral analysis aspect that you have to look at and answer. Okay. The fact that these items were still left there, I'm not saying it's an oversight. I'm just saying, there could be more evidence that could have been collected. Okay. Now, hopefully, I'm wrong.
Let's stay with that timeline and just finish it up. And I'm curious if there's anything else that stands out to you, Chris, especially now. I feel like many of the facts that we were told, right, that she was supposed to be at church, that somebody in the church was concerned and called the family. Why is that now not, hang on, do you think they taped everyone at the vigil service?
Yeah.
Answer that question.
Answer this question, yes. Yes, they would have done that, especially in this kind of scenario. Great.
I feel like how was she reported? What happened that morning? I feel like we're not getting the story we were told a couple days ago.
Well, I'm trying, I want to be, because she's still out there, maybe. Okay. I want to be gentle and I want to be considerate, and, at the same time, me, I want to also be straightforward. But the fact that the sheriff the other day, and I pointed this out in one of our, streams, he got so emotional. He turned away. He didn't know how, he didn't want to answer the question. And I just had visions of somebody like you sitting next to the chief, off camera. And when that question came up, going, what would you have done to the chief? Would you have if he was asked, do you think she's alive?
What I would have told him to say?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to say what he's going to say, but the answer is we hope so, but we don't know. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Right. And so I think the other side of that is the homicide guy, that they brought out, they rolled him out the first day. He's going, don't go there. Don't go there. Okay. And so the sheriff was kind of in a precarious situation because now this is a scenario where it's all over the world. Okay. That's why they impound the car to check the year's tracking with electronic capabilities. It might have to Nancy's house. Okay. Yeah, exactly. They would have pulled that information out. Records show the house was bought in 26. Interesting.
I don't know if that's accurate because I heard her mom lived there since 1992.
Yeah, but who bought the house? Didn't we do some research on that? I thought you pulled that up. What do you have here?
Well, this is about the sister and the brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay, before we go down that trail,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, does anybody know if there's a power of attorney anywhere in this scenario? Let's see here. I think it's a sister's boyfriend. Okay.
Well, let's just be clear. The sister Annie is married to, what is his name? Tommaso Cioni. They've been married. There's marriage records. They've been married for 20 years.
Those droplets were placed there. And no, not like that. They came from her. That's the kind of blood that, there's not a lot there, but this kind of blood, that wasn't placed there. This right here, just this one big piece right here, that's high velocity impact of some sort, like that. That's what that is. So you can't create this blood pattern. Not at 2:00 in the morning trying to get somebody out of the house. I know, right? I've got her next to me now too. How about that? Thank you.
Yeah, we're a little on the low tech side.
And thank you for being here, Tammy. We're so grateful.
Thank you, Tammy, and everybody else.
I'm quite BX analyzed until today. Yes, this case is moving so quickly. There are a lot of moving parts, but we got a tremendous amount of information today. What my biggest takeaway, 39 minutes.
Yeah, wow on that.
39 minutes. So
yeah, that was huge.
This gives me pause to get into Gary's head now to talk about the type of personality type that will jump at, that will take 39 minutes. And that will, we'll go down that road here. So what's the question? Do I believe she'll be found? I believe that this case will be solved. I'm praying and hoping, like the rest of the world, that the family finds the answers that are necessary and that the sheriff continue on the path that they're on with the assistance of the FBI, and that they get some answers, many more answers quickly. I still find it an anomaly that the ICAC team is there, even though the sheriff played it off. I'm a little not concerned, but I find it curious that we heard we're going to go with the family in terms of a response to a question that the media asked, and he put it on as if it was a messaging that they're staying with, knowing behind the scenes. I'll give you a perfect example.
And before you do, that's critical because that's a timeline question.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Okay. Are they buying time because they know? And now they're trying to connect the dots. And the other thing that we learned today is the sheriff has realized, okay, well, we're going to cut the communication off right now for everybody. So he said, the next time we have a press conference, there's going to be a result before we give the press conference. So the next press conference, we should expect some very cool information to be coming out. Yeah. 39 minutes to get put out of range. Well, he's at the suspect is potentially still there at the house, because the second piece of that we know about is 212 software detects a person. We don't know where that software was, though. And we don't even know what he's talking about. Is it a Ring camera? Is there another camera inside the house? Or is there another surveillance system somewhere? It's something that they read, meaning they got data to tell us, for him to tell us that. So we don't know what that means. Okay. We definitely know. And here's another question. Sheriff, how do you know it's 147 when the Nest camera was disconnected? They have that data somewhere. Okay.
Exactly. But then he said we don't have the video.
Right. He said we don't have the video, but that doesn't mean they didn't have what led up to that before that time.
And again, that can very well happen if you're not paying for a subscription to the cloud on any of these devices and any of these, doorbell cameras.
Right. Great point. And then we still know she's potentially in the house because her Apple Watch is in the house, and because at 2:28 it disconnects. That's when she's out of range for her pacemaker, but her Apple Watch is still at the house. So she's in range from 147 to 2:28. That is a total of 39 minutes. So that blood does not occur until after 2:28 in the morning. And why take her through the front door when the garage is available?
Great question. Okay. Was there a car outside? We don't know.
Boom. All right, everybody. You have any other questions? Do you have any other comments?
I'm still processing all of this. I don't know if you guys have fully processed all of this. I mean, my head's ready to explode. The fact that we've got, Chris, just actually let me ask you this. The ransom note at this point feels like a big distraction, but then again, they're not discounting it either.
I concur. I concur. There's two lanes going here, and I'm confident in saying both of these lanes are moving rapidly. Okay, they're moving rapidly, but they're both trains are going in the same direction. One train is being handled by the FBI, the ransom note, all that stuff. The other train is being handled by the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And let me give you an example of how this works. In the Leticia Hernandez abduction, December 16th, 1989, I was responsible for train number 2. All of the sightings that were going east, okay, all of this stuff that was happening on that side of the country. Train number 1 was a guy named Mike Popkinjack, who's an FBI agent, and Sheila Hancock. They're working train number 1, which is a registered sex offender 3 doors down from where Leticia disappeared. Okay. All of that train is running independent of all of the things I was doing. And those of you who have been with us, for the last 5 years here on YouTube, I have a cup back here because I was working with all the psychics. I was working with, all the sightings, yada, yada. She was profiled 3 times on America's Most Wanted back then. So that's probably what's happening simultaneously in this case. Now, there could be a third train that presented itself when they went and got evidence. And that third train could involve the ICAC team, because they're probably going, if in fact that's the case. I don't know that. I'm just saying, you don't just call the ICAC team, on your phone and say, hey, get over here. We need more help. Okay. To start searching. No. Those guys and gals are there for a reason, because they have a PhD piled higher and deeper with a caseload. Okay. Homicide doesn't pick up the phone and say, yeah, we need ICAC over here. No. You pick up the phone and say, I need gang guys over here because I have a dead gang member. And the gang guys show up and you say, okay, tell me who this guy is. Tell me who his associations are. Same thing with ICAC. Hey, we just ran into a big stash of problem. Get over here. I need your help. Okay. And so that's why they're there. Even, and the sheriff played it off pretty cool.
Yeah, he sure did.
He just kind of went, oh, we just call them. Okay. No. There's 3 trains
We're not buying
moving.
that. Mm-mm. There's more to that story.
I love you, Sheriff, but nice try. Okay. Anyway, I think we got a lot more work to do now. We appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for supporting us. And if you wouldn't mind, please just hit the like button. There's over 3,000 people in the chat here. That really helps the algorithm, and it also helps our channel grow. This year, we're hoping to hit over 300,000 subscribers. Please share this out for everybody, and put it on your social networks. We would be grateful for that. We only ask one thing: is you subscribe and that you share this with all your friends and neighbors. For that, we would be grateful. Yes.
Yep. And we'll be back here live on when the next piece of information hits on this. And we'll keep you guys posted.
And we also thank our mods.
Yes. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Without them, as you guys know, we couldn't do this channel because they are the best, I think, on YouTube. We also thank our channel members. Thank you. Your support is, so appreciative. Our Patreon members, if you're not a member, please jump over there. Maybe we do a lot of other stuff behind the scenes for you, and we're grateful for you as well. So thank you for being here today. When it breaks, we're all going to know. We'll go up, we'll grab it, and we'll go live again. Until then, do you want to go to Hawaii?
Let's go.
All right. Aloha, everybody.
See you guys.
Biakamai. Take care of each other. See you on the next one.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away.